Hello everyone, this is Coding Atlas and today we are studying arrays. However, before we begin, I want to review the last task we did, because in my opinion the explanation wasn't good enough in the last video. So what are we doing here? We have I as the iterator variable. It goes from 0 to 25, so every single iteration we add 1 to I incrementing it. And for every single repetition of the for block, we check if the rest of the division of I with 2 is 0. Every even number has no division rest if we divide it with 0. And that's the idea we use here. And we check if 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on divided by 2 gives the rest of division 0. This is module operator. It gives the rest of the division. And we print only the values which satisfy the condition. So we print only the even values. I hope the explanation was clean enough, and I hope everyone gets it. If not, you are welcome in the comment section below. Let's imagine you have to store a lot of data, for example 100 numbers. What do we do in this case? Creating 100 variables is not so convenient. Therefore, there is a data structure which deals with this problem. That's an array right here. This one has only 5 elements. And every element is of type of integer. Arrays can be different length. Not dynamic, but different. So this one is 5 elements length. You can create a 10 elements length array, 100 elements, and so on. You can imagine an array as a list of values of the same type, unified by one name of the array. This one, in our case, it's called ARR, which is short for array. Every single element of the array also has an index. It starts with 0 and it serves as the address of every single element. It starts with 0, so we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we want to take this element right here, we would access the second index of the array, like this. That's how we access the third element. We use second index because it starts with 0, so it's always -1. Now if you want to change the value from -1 to -3, let's say, we just write this equals to -3. Now we have this value set as -3, and the array looks like this. That's now how it looks. That's how we create an array. But you might notice we don't have any size here. So how does the program know which size it is? The thing is, it doesn't know. What we do is create an array, but we don't initialize it. Initializing it means giving it default values. So we need to initialize it with this line. New int, and here we put the size, for example 5. Now we have an array with all 0 values, with the size of 5. Let's try work with it and see what values it has. Let's try run the program. And now you can see it's all zeros. We can change some values though. Let's try to do it manually. And we see the values changed. But it's not so convenient because we have to change every single element. However, in C# we can initialize an array with default values. We do it like this. Now it's an array of size 5 with these elements inside. It understands the size from the amount of elements we give. So now let's try print it in a for loop. So we print every single element, but printing every single element separately is also not so convenient. So let's use a for loop for this. You may notice we use few different concepts here. Firstly, we use array.length. What is .length? Length is a property of the array. Every single array has a length, and we can access it like this. So we use it to know how many times we need to repeat a for loop. So this one we repeat 5 times because we have 5 elements, from 0 to 4, because smaller than 5. 4 will be the last iteration. Now why do we write it like this? Index of I. Because every single iteration, I adds +1. So first time it is 0, we write console write line array 0 index. We write 5. Then we increment it. We go once again. Now I is 1. So we write line array index 1. Then it's 2, index 2, 3, 4. And when it's 5, this condition is not true anymore. So the loop ends and we go here. Let's run it. And what we see, every single element has been printed out in the console. Now let's try make some arrays of different data types. For example, string. It will also work. And let's try print them out on the console. We have here names and every single element from the array. That's how it looks like. If you have any questions regarding this code, you can ask it in the comment section and I will answer every single question of yours. Now, before we get deeper into the topic of arrays, we have to understand what a nested loop is and how it works. This might be a bit complicated for the first time, and I recommend carefully rewatching it if you didn't get it, which is completely normal if it happens. So let's say we have this code, and we have this output for the code. What does the code do and why? We have two loops. One loop has index I. Other loop has index j. Why do we use j in the first place? Because I is already busy. We already have a variable called I in this context. We'll cover context in one of the next tutorials, but right now just know that I here already exists. That's why we need one more variable of a different name, so we call it j. So what we do? We have I from 0 to 5. So every single time I increments and it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. While I is equal to 0, we write line I, so we write I equal to 0. We leave an empty space just to make it pretty. Then we have another for loop. And this for loop goes from 0 to 5. So inside, while I equals to 0, this will repeat 5 times. And it has j from 0 to 5, increments every single time, and have j equals to, printing in the console. So how does it work? I is equal to 0, we print it out, we leave a space, and we print j from 0 to 5 all 5 times, as you see here. Then we leave an empty space, and we go back here. Now I is equal to 1. I equal to 1. We print it, empty space, and again from the start, we have this for loop from the start, from 0 to 5. We print j equal to 0, j equal to 1, all the way to 4. And one more time, I equal to 2. It works the same way again and again, till I equal to 4. Last time it repeats. I equal to 5, condition is not met, for loop exits. And that's how it works. For understanding it better, let's do a simple task which is often used by universities and schools when learning coding. How do we draw a triangle in our terminal of a dynamic size? This code does it. So what do we have here? We have two for loops, more specifically a nested loop, where n is the size of the triangle, amount of lines, where I goes from n to 0 and j goes from 0 to n minus 1. Let's see why. So, in the first iteration, I equals to 5. It can be a bit strange because we don't use this value anywhere besides here. We have I equals to 5, we go here. J equal to 0, j is smaller or equal to 5 minus I. This means 5 minus 5 is 0, but smaller or equal. 0 is equal to 0, so we have one iteration here. We write 1 star, without line, just write because we don't want to go to the next line. Then because it goes j++, now it's 1, 1 is not smaller or equal to 0, so we go console write line to leave an empty space. Write 1 star, go next. Now I equals to 4, because I minus minus, we have a decrementer here. Now j from 0 to 1, because 5 minus 4, I is 4, is 1. So it goes two iterations, 0 and 1, because smaller or equal. And we have two stars. We write first star, then it's 1, we write second star. Second line ready. Then we print right line to go next line. Then we have I equal to 3. J from 0 to 5 minus 3 to 2. 0 to 2 is 3 iterations. 0, 1 and 2. 3 stars. 1, 2, 3. Right line. And it goes like this till the pyramid is finished. This is kind of a complicated problem for the beginners, and most people don't understand it from the first time, so you don't need to worry about this too much. If you understood it, it's perfect. But if you didn't, don't worry too much and just continue the tutorial, or you watch it if you want to understand it. You'll understand it sooner or later. It's just a task which is usually used in schools and universities for teaching programming. And this one very clearly demonstrates the work of nested loops. So now we are ready to discuss two-dimensional arrays. It is still a list of data, but now it looks like a grid. So we have two dimensions as suggested in the name. Now for accessing its elements we use two indices. First one, it's a row index, and second one, it's column. They work exactly like normal arrays do, just in two dimensions. Let's try create it in the code and print it out on the screen with a for loop. So that's how you create one. You firstly write int, and here it's kind of a strange syntax because it's just a comma out of nowhere, but this shows that there is two numbers in between. So we write like this, and then new int and two numbers, the row number and the column number. Or otherwise we can just do like this. So now this is an array with 3 rows and 5 columns. What we have here is this is a row, this is the second row, this is the third row. And every single element is part of a column. First column, second column, and so on. So this also works. Now let's try print it out. How we do this? Now we have a function, a method of the array called getLength. And because we have two dimensions, we can't just get the length of the array, because we need the amount of columns and rows. So we have getLength with the parameter of dimension. So if you write getLength of 0, it gets the length of this dimension. So we have like 3 elements here, 1, 2, 3. This means we have 3 rows. If we get length of 1, it goes inside, it sees this element, goes deeper, and it sees it has 5 elements in here. So 5 columns in total. Now this is a nested loop which will work with this array. Let's try print them out. So what I do here is I give row number, comma, column number. That's how you give the indices. Then I make an empty space so it all looks beautiful. And I put a new line after each row. Let's see how it looks like. That's how it looks like. And it looks like a table. Look at this, we have 3 rows and 5 columns. And if you compare it with this data which we have over here, you can see it's identical. 3, 4, 5, 0, minus 2, 6, 5, 2, 1, 9, and this one. So it was all for today. It was a bit difficult tutorial, so if you have any problems or questions, please ask them in the comment section. Also, you'd really support this channel by liking the videos and subscribing to it. Hope you liked this lesson, see you in the next one.